The starship Zorith moved quietly above Earth. It was a massive ship from the planet Warmis. Its silver body shone brightly against the dark space. Inside, the crew of Wormian explorers looked down at Earth with excited eyes. They had traveled far across the galaxy to see this strange blue planet. Captain Lero stood in front of the wide viewing window. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 bright yellow eyes. His hands were behind his back as he studied Earth's green lands and deep oceans. "This is Earth," Lero said, his voice calm. "The planet with many stories. Some say humans are kind, others say they are monsters. We will learn the truth." His crew nodded. They were scientists, explorers, and soldiers. All of them wanted to know what Earth was really like. They had read many reports. Some told of human art, love, and friendship. Others told dark stories of war, cruelty, and greed. A young crew member named Ryle pressed some buttons on his screen. Tiny drones flew out of the ship and dropped toward Earth. Each drone had small cameras and sensors. It would show what humans were doing. "We will know soon," Ryle said with a smile. Minutes passed. The first images came back. They saw great forests, blue lakes, busy cities full of people and cars. Humans were walking, talking, laughing. Children played in parks. Old people fed birds. It all looked peaceful. Lero's crew began to laugh. "So much for the dark legends," said a scientist. "Look at them. It's harmless." "Yes," Lero agreed. But still, he felt something strange. He watched as the cities turned to villages and then to empty lands. One drone flew over a ruined town. Buildings stood broken. Roads were cracked. There were no humans there. Strange, Lero whispered. Suddenly an alarm rang. Ral jumped up. "Captain, they've lost contact with Scout Team Alpha." Scout Team Alpha was their first small group on the ground. They had landed just 2 hours ago to collect samples. Now there was only silence. Lero narrowed his eyes. "Try again. Open voice channel." Ral pressed the buttons. Static noise filled the ship. Then a voice came through. It was cracked and full of fear. "Captain, this is Alpha. We found something wrong here. Not what we thought." "What is it?" Lero demanded. "Report at once." More static, and a sharp scream. "Run. Get out." THEY, and then nothing. Total silence. The crew looked at each other. No one spoke. Even the hum of the ship seemed to die. Lero took a deep breath. "Prepare a landing team. We will go down ourselves, sir." Rawl looked shocked. "But Scout Alpha? That is why we must go," Lero said firmly. "If humans are hiding something, we will find it." They moved quickly. Soldiers grabbed their pulse rifles. Scientists packed scanners. Lero checked his translator device to speak human language if needed. In 10 minutes, they stood inside the landing shuttle. The doors closed with a hiss. The shuttle dropped from the ship and cut through Earth's sky like a bright comet. Outside, clouds rushed past. The shuttle shook. Inside, no one spoke. "We're all thinking about the last scream from Scout Alpha soon." The shuttle landed on hard ground. The doors opened with a hiss of air. Lero and his team stepped out. They were in a small town. Houses stood quiet. Windows were dark. Cold wind moved old papers across the street. Ral turned on his scanner. No life signs nearby. Not even small animals? "That's impossible," Lero said. "Earth is full of life." They walked carefully. Lero looked at the houses. Many had doors open. Inside, he saw tables set for dinner, cups still on shelves, clothes on chairs. It was like the people had left in a hurry. One soldier pointed to a wall. There were deep scratches on it, long and rough, as if made by claws. Nearby, they found a sign painted in red. It was old and faded, but the words were still clear. "Turn back," Lero read slowly. Ral swallowed hard. "Maybe we should." Just then, they heard a noise. A small crash, like a can falling over. All of them spun around, weapons ready. But there was nothing there. Only an empty street. Lero felt his heart beating fast. He He looked up at the sky. Somewhere above, the great ship Zoroth waited. He suddenly wished he was back inside it, but he shook off the fear. Stay sharp. We find Alpha, then we leave. They moved deeper into the town, footsteps echoing on the cracked road. Somewhere in the distance, a door slowly creaked open. Shadow moved across a window. Captain Lero realized. One terrible thing, they were not alone. Captain Lero and his team walked slowly through the empty town. Their boots made small sounds on the cracked road. Round them, the houses stood quiet and dead, like old skeletons. Ral kept his scanner up. The small screen glowed green. Still nothing, he said. No human life signs, not even dogs or birds. That's wrong, Lero said. Earth is supposed to be full of animals. Something is hiding. They passed a small shop.
Ow.
The door was open. Inside, cans and boxes lay scattered on the floor. Shelves were broken. It looked like people had grabbed things in a rush. One of the soldiers, Jarek, pointed to a wall. Look at this. It was a poster with smiling human faces holding hands. But someone had scratched big X marks over the eyes. Under it, with red paint, were the words, "The dark side is here." Ral shivered. What does that mean? Lero didn't answer. He didn't like it. Everything felt wrong. The air seemed too still, too cold. Even the sun felt weak here. They moved on, deeper into the town. As they turned a corner, they found something that made them all stop. There was a vehicle, a human car left in the middle of the road. Its doors were open. Inside, old blood covered the seats. There were claw marks on the roof and long dark hair stuck to the broken glass. What? Did this? Jarek whispered. Ral's scanner beeped. It jumped. Captain, I have something. It's faint, but I see a Wormian signal. Lero felt hope. It must be Scout Team Alpha. Where? About 500 meters that way. Ral pointed down a street. Let's move. They hurried. Weapons ready. The signal grew stronger. Finally, they reached a small building that looked like an old school. The scanner showed the Wormian marked dash inside. Layer pushed the door open. The smell hit them first. It was thick and sour, like rotten meat. They stepped carefully inside. Desks were thrown around. Papers lay everywhere. Then they found them. 3. Wormian bodies were on the floor, half covered by broken chairs. Their gray skin was torn, and their bright yellow eyes stared up, lifeless. There were deep bite marks on their arms and necks. Ral covered his mouth. By the stars. What kind of human does this? Lero knelt by one of the bodies. It was holding a small device, a recorder. He pressed play. A voice crackled out full. Of panic, they found us. They look human. Something's wrong with them. They smile too much. Their eyes. Help us. They're hunting us for fun. Then there was a scream. The recording ended. Jarek looked around nervously. Captain, we should get back to the shuttle. Lero stood up. His hands were shaking a little, but his voice stayed firm. Not yet. I want to see what happened here. We find more clues, then we leave. They moved to the next room. It was dark. Jarek turned on his shoulder light. On the walls, made with something dark, maybe old blood. Strange symbols, circles, and human faces with sharp teeth. Underneath, words scratched over and over. The dark side is not the night. The dark side is us. Ral whispered, Are these warnings or threats? Before anyone could answer, they heard a sound. A small laugh, soft and broken. Then another. It echoed down the hallway. The team turned quickly, weapons pointed, lights shining everywhere. But the hall was empty. Then they saw it. A shadow moved across the far wall, fast, low to the ground. Jerk fired. Bright blasts lit up the hall. The shadow was gone. They stood still, breathing hard, listening. Nothing moved now. Lurk spoke quietly. We leave now. Into the street. Hearts racing. The sun was starting to set. Long shadows reached out like dark fingers. Somewhere, a door slammed. A laugh echoed again. Ral checked his scanner. Captain, I'm picking up new signals. Many all around us. How many? Lero asked. Ral swallowed. Dozens, maybe hundreds. They're closing in, Jarek cursed. It's a trap. They began to move quickly, back through the broken town, toward where they landed the shuttle. But the streets now seemed to twist. The town felt alive, pushing them deeper instead of letting them out. At the end of the street, they saw shapes, human shapes, standing still. Watching, Dotterell aimed his weapon. Who are you? Stay back? One of the humans stepped forward. It was a woman, wearing a torn dress. Her face was pale, and her smile was too wide, stretching strangely across her cheeks. Her eyes were empty, dark holes. She tilted her head and said in a slow, happy voice, "Welcome to Earth's dark side." Behind her, more humans appeared. Men, women, even children, all smiling. All holding sharp things, knives, broken glass. Rusty hooks, Lero felt cold fear run through him. They had come to see Earth's dark side now. It had found them. Captain Lero stood frozen. His team stood close behind him, weapons up. The street was full of humans now. They came from alleys, doorways, broken windows. They moved slowly with lazy smiles. Some held knives, others had heavy metal pipes or long wooden sticks with nails. Ral's voice shook. "They're everywhere, Captain." The human woman in the torn dress stepped closer. Her eyes were too dark, like they had no light inside. Her smile never faded. "We waited for you," she said softly. Her voice was sweet, almost kind, but something was wrong in it. "We knew you would come, all of you, curious little travelers." Lero tried to keep calm, raised his translator device, and spoke in clear words. "We are explorers. We do not wish to harm you. Came in peace. We only want to understand your world." The woman giggled. The man next to her laughed too, then another. Soon, the whole crowd was laughing. But it was not a happy sound. It was broken, sharp, almost like screams. The woman tilted her head. "Understand us? That's so nice. We can show you. We'll show you everything. Be part of our dark side." She reached out a hand. Her fingers were thin, stained with old blood. Ral stepped back. "Captain, they're playing with us. This is a game to them." Suddenly, one of the humans in the back screamed a high, wild scream. Then they all started running forward. "Fire!" Lero shouted. Bright blue blasts shot from their pulse rifles. A man dropped, chest burned through. Another woman fell, her knife clattering on the ground. But more kept coming. They didn't even look afraid. They ran with wide eyes and open mouths, as if hunting was pure joy. Ral screamed as a human jumped. On him, they rolled on the ground. The human's mouth bit at Ral's armor, teeth scraping metal. Jarek shot the attacker point blank. The human's head burned away, leaving a smoking hole. "Move," Lero yelled. They formed a tight group, blasting at anything that charged. Bodies dropped, but it didn't stop the rest. Blood sprayed across the cracked road. Still, the smiling humans came, stepping over their dead. They swung pipes and knives. One cut deep across Jarek's arm. He roared and smashed the attacker with his rifle butt. Lero looked around quickly. An old building stood. Nearby its door, half open, inside. Now, they ran, pushing through the door. Inside was dark, dusty, full of old wooden chairs and broken glass. They slammed the door shut. Jarek pulled a heavy shelf across it. Outside, fists pounded on the wood. The door shook. Breathing hard, Lero checked his team. Jarek's arm was bleeding, but he was still standing. Ral had a deep scratch across his helmet. Their eyes were wide with fear. Ral tried his scanner again. "Captain, the ship can't hear us. They must be jamming our signal, or something is blocking it." "They are clever," Jarek growled. "They lure us in, cut us off, like hunters." Lero nodded. He felt anger mixing with his fear. These were supposed to be simple humans, weak, divided, but this was organized. They had turned the whole town into a trap. Then they heard a noise. Not from outside, but from deeper in the building. A slow, dragging sound. Like someone pulling heavy chains. Jarek raised his rifle. What now? A figure appeared in the hallway. It was a human boy, maybe 10 years old. His eyes were empty, his skin pale. He held a stuffed toy, a little bear missing an arm. He smiled at them. "Why are you hiding?" the boy asked sweetly. "Come outside. We're waiting." Laro felt his heart twist. Even the children were part of this horror. Jarek shook his head. "Captain, we can't stay here. They'll break down that door soon." Suddenly, the boy dropped his toy. His smile faded. He opened his mouth and let out a long, terrible scream. Ow! It was too loud, too sharp, like it was calling for something. From behind the boy, shadows moved. More shapes stepped out. Men and women with strange symbols carved into their skin, all of them smiling. Ral fired. The boy fell, eyes wide. The others screamed in rage and charged. "Back!" Lero shouted. They ran through another door, into a long hallway. Behind them, the humans chased, footsteps slamming on the floor. They burst out a back exit into an alley. The cold air hit them. Somewhere far away, a bell rang clang, clang, clang. Was it a signal? More humans appeared at the end of the alley. Ral panted, eyes wild. "They're everywhere. It's like the whole town is hunting us." Lero felt something dark settle inside him. This was not just curiosity anymore. This was survival. He looked at his team. "We keep moving. Find a place to hide and fix the signal. Where we don't warn the ship, more will come, and none will survive." Ow! They ran down the alley, shadows chasing close behind, into the heart of Earth's dark side. Captain Lero led his team through the dark alley. Their boots splashed in dirty water. Old trash crunched under their feet. Behind them, the humans screamed and laughed, chasing like hungry wolves. Ral looked back. "They're close, too close." The alley opened into a wide street. Lero stopped. For 1 second, he checked left, then right. More humans were coming from both sides, holding torches and weapons. Their faces were painted with red symbols. Their mouths were open in wild smiles. "They're cutting us off." Jarek shouted, "Run!" Lero pointed ahead. There was only one way left, straight into an old industrial area. Rusty factories stood there, giant metal skeletons against the red evening sky. They sprinted, lungs burning, and shouting. It sounded like a celebration to them. As Lero's team reached the first factory, they ducked through a broken gate. The huge building loomed above them, windows shattered, walls covered in black stains. Inside, it was dark and cold. Metal pipes ran across the ceiling. Old machines stood silent, covered in dust. Strange smells filled the eye royal, rust, and something else, something rotten. Ral bent over, catching his breath. "Captain, they didn't follow us in." Lero turned, confused. He peeked out through a broken window. The humans stood outside the gate, still smiling, but none of them stepped closer. "They're afraid," Jarek said. He wiped sweat from his forehead. "Why?" "They chased us across the whole town." Lero's eyes narrowed. "Because there's something worse in here."
Allah, the silence of the factory was heavy.
Every small sound echoed. A drip of water. The creak of old metal. Their own breathing. Ral's scanner beeped. He jumped. "I'm picking up faint life signs. Not human, not wormian. Something else." "Where?" Lero asked. Ral pointed to a stairway leading down. "Below?" "Us. In the basement levels." Jarek swore under his breath. "Do we really want to know what it is?" Lero felt a cold weight in his stomach, but they had no choice. Outside waited the human mob. Inside might hold answers or even a way to hide. "Move carefully," Lero ordered. They walked down the metal stairs, each step groaning under there. Wait, the light from their shoulder lamps showed walls covered with old warning signs. "Biohazard. Keep out" at the bottom. They found heavy doors torn off their hinges. Beyond was a large lab. Broken glass covered the floor. Strange tanks stood in rows, filled with dark liquid. Some were smashed open. Ral shined his light inside one tank. Twisted shape floated there, part human, part something else, with two. Many eyes and long, sharp teeth. "What is this place?" Jarek whispered. "A lab for making monsters." Lero said softly, Human experiments, maybe old war projects. Then they heard it. A low growl, slow, heavy breathing. Something moved. In the darkness between the tanks, Ral's scanner beeped wildly. It's close. Very close. Suddenly a shape lunged out. A massive creature, covered in pale, wet skin. Its face was stretched into a permanent scream. Long claws swung through the air, smashing a metal table. Jarek fired first. Blue blasts lit up the lab. The creature howled in pain but didn't fall. It charged, swiping Jarek aside. The soldier crashed into a wall. Armor cracked. Fire! Fire! Lero shouted. They shot together, blasting holes through the monster's chest. It staggered, gave a horrible choking sound, then collapsed. Ral ran to Jarek. He's alive, just hurt. More noises came from deeper in the lab, more growls. More shapes moving. They're waking up, Lero said. The humans outside, maybe. They feed people to these things. Ral shivered. Like a sick offering. We have to go. Lero pulled Jarek up. They ran back up the stairs. Behind them, heavy footsteps started to follow. The creatures were hunting now. They burst out into the main floor of the factory. Lero looked for a place to hide. Ain't. Spotted an old control room above, with windows looking over the factory floor. There. Up there, they climbed a metal ladder. Inside, it was dusty, but safe for the moment. They could see everything from above, down below, the factory floor filled with shapes. Mutated monsters sniffed the ground, hunting for the scent of blood. Ral leaned against the wall, shaking. This planet. It's worse than any story. The humans made these things, and now they worship them. Outside the factory, they saw torches through the windows. The smiling humans still waited, as if guarding the monster's hunting grounds. Lero looked at his team. Listen to me. We have to fix the signal. Call the ship. If we die here without sending a warning, more Wormians will command. End up. Like us? Jarek winced, holding his side. Then we stay here, fix the comms, and pray those things can't climb. Below them, a monster let out a long, hungry roar. Another answered it. The whole building seemed to shake with the sound. Lero tightened his grip on his rifle. Earth's dark side was not just the humans, it was everything. Captain Lero stood inside the dusty control room, staring down at the factory floor. Below them, the monsters moved slowly between broken machines. Their twisted bodies glistened under dim lights. Some crawled on all fours, others dragged long. Claws over the ground, they sniffed the air, following the scent of blood. Ral tried to steady his hands as he worked on the small transmitter. Sparks jumped from the wires. If I can boost the power, maybe the mothership will hear us. Do it fast, Lero said. His yellow eyes stayed locked on the creatures below. Suddenly, one of the monsters stopped. It lifted its head and sniffed again. Then it turned slowly and looked straight up toward the control room. Ral's voice cracked. Captain. It knows. The creature let out a horrible shriek. Its mouth opened wider than any human mouth should. Then it charged, climbing up the metal walls, claws digging into rusted beams. Defensive line, Lero shouted. He and Jarek aimed their rifles at the window. The monster reached the glass and slammed into it. Cracks spread like spider webs. Jarek fired first. Blue blasts hit the creature's shoulder, burning flesh. It howled, smashing the window again. Glass rained into the room. Ral dropped the transmitter and grabbed his sidearm. The monster pulled itself halfway through the broken window. Its long arms swung wildly, claws slicing the air. Jarek was too close. The claws ripped across his chest. Plate, sending him crashing back. Lero stepped forward and fired into the monster's face. The creature screamed, black blood spraying. It fell backward, crashing to the floor below. More monsters rushed over, tearing it apart, hungry even for one of their own. Ral crawled to Jarek's side. He's still breathing. Keep him awake, Lero ordered. Lifted the transmitter. Finish this. Call the ship. Ral nodded, took deep breaths, hands shaking, and went back to work. Sparks flew again. A small green light blinked. Signal ready. Trying now. He pressed a button. Soft hum filled the room. Somewhere high above, their mothership might be listening below. More creatures sniffed around. Some began climbing the metal beams again. Others wandered off into dark corners, vanishing in the shadows. Leroux could hear heavy breathing from every side. Raoul looked up, sweat running down his gray skin. "Captain, why did the humans make these things?" Leroux stared down at the horrors. Maybe for war, maybe for power, or maybe just because they could. Suddenly, a loud metallic bang echoed through the building. From deep inside the factory, a huge door opened. More monsters spilled out, bigger ones, with too many limbs, their eyes glowing faintly in the dark. They sniffed the air and roared, shaking the walls. Raoul's eyes widened. "They'll tear this building apart to find us." Jarek groaned on. "The floor, Captain. Don't let me be food for them." "You're not dying today," Leroux said, gripping Jarek's shoulder. Raoul's transmitter beeped. Signal sent. Message repeating on loop. They should hear it. Leroux gave him a tight nod. Then he looked around. The control room was no longer safe. Too many monsters were gathering below, looking up, scratching at the walls. "We move." The back. Quietly. They helped Jarek stand. His breathing was heavy, but he managed to walk. They slipped out a side door into a narrow catwalk that wrapped around the factory. Below them, monsters moved like a river of claws and teeth. Raoul whispered, "We can't fight all of them." "You don't have to," Leroux said. "We just have to survive long enough for the ship to send help." Suddenly, one of the monsters looked up and shrieked. It leaped, grabbing the catwalk. The metal groaned under its weight. Claws scraped closer. Leroux fired. The blast struck the creature's shoulder. It fell, crashing into others below. But the entire catwalk shook. Ariel grabbed a support beam. "It's coming down." The metal tore free with a horrible screech. The catwalk dropped. It fell through the air, crashing into a pile of old crates on the ground floor. Pain shot through Leroux's. Leggy rolled over, coughing. Monsters turned toward them, eyes shining in the dark. Raoul pulled Jarek up. "Run. This way." They stumbled through the factory, dodging claws and snapping jaws. A monster lunged at Raoul. Leroux fired, hitting it in the neck. Black blood sprayed across his armor. They burst through a side door into an open yard filled with weeds behind them. The factory shook with roars. Monsters poured out the broken doors, chasing into the night. Raoul panted. "Captain, how do we stop them?" Leroux looked back at the dark building. "We don't. We just run." They fled into the shadows, monsters closed behind. Knowing Earth's true dark side was now fully awake and hungry, Captain Leroux led his team through the overgrown yard. They ran between broken fences and old metal scraps. Behind them, the factory roared with monstrous cries. Shapes moved through the dark, claws scraping on concrete. Raoul struggled to keep up, helping Jarek walk. The injured soldier groaned with each step. His armor was cracked, blood leaking down his side. "We're close," Raoul panted. "A shuttle should be just over that hill." They climbed a small slope. Leroux stopped. Below them was a flat field covered in dry grass, and there sat their landing shuttle. Its silver body gleamed under the stars. The hatch was still open. A wave of relief washed over them. For a moment, they felt hope. "Go," Leroux shouted. "Get inside, now." They ran down the hill. Behind them, monsters burst from the trees. They charged on all fours, faster than anything Leroux had ever seen. Roars filled the night. Raoul reached the shuttle first. He dragged Jarek up the ramp. Leroux was right behind, firing his rifle. Bright blasts struck two monsters in the chest. They tumbled into the grass, still twitching. The shuttle hatch closed with a hiss. Inside, Raoul collapsed at the controls. Hands flew over the panels. Engines hummed to life, shaking the floor. Come on," Raoul whispered. Outside, monsters slammed into the shuttle. Metal rang from the hits. Claws scraped against the hull. Through a small window, Leroux saw glowing eyes staring in, full of hunger. With a roar, the engines fired. The shuttle lifted off. The ground. Trees bent away under the force. The monsters below howled in rage, clawing at the empty air. "We did it," Jarek breathed weakly. He gave a small smile. "We're going home." But then an explosion rocked the shuttle. Alarm screamed. The whole cabin tilted sharply. Lero grabbed a railing as sparks burst from the ceiling. Ral shouted, "Something hit us. Left engine is failing." Outside the window, Lero saw a bright flash. A group of humans on the ground stood holding strange launchers. Smoke curled up from their weapons. One of them, a man with a painted face, laughed and waved. "They have missiles," Lero said in disbelief. "Primitive, but enough to bring us down." The shuttle twisted in the air. Warning lights flashed everywhere. Ral fought the controls, teeth gritted. "Hold on. Can maybe stabilize another blast." This time the right side of the shuttle exploded in flames. The whole ship spun wildly. The ground rushed up. Then everything went black. Lero woke with a sharp pain in his head. He lay on the shuttle floor, smoke all around him. Red emergency lights blinked. Somewhere close, metal sparked and popped. He pushed himself up with a groan. His leg burned, but it wasn't broken. Nearby, Ral coughed hard, pulling himself out from under a fallen panel. Jarek lay on the floor, unconscious. Blood stained his armor even darker now. Lero crawled to the window. Outside was a nightmare. The shuttle lay half-crushed in a field. Flames licked at the broken hull. Around them dozens of humans stood watching. Some held torches, others had ropes, chains, or old rifles. All of them were smiling. Ral whispered. They were waiting. "They knew we'd try to run." "We're smart," Lero said bitterly. "Smarter than we thought." Suddenly, the humans parted. From between them walked a tall figure, a human man wearing a long coat made from stitched animal skins. Alien skins, too. Round his neck hung small skulls, some clearly not human. His face was calm, but his eyes were cold. In his hand he held a long blade, covered in dark stains. He stepped close to the broken shuttle and called out, his voice deep and steady. "Aliens, welcome again to Earth's dark side. You tried to leave us, but no one ever really leaves." Ral's hands shook on his rifle. "Captain, if they come inside, they will," Lero said quietly. "Get ready." The man outside raised his blade. Behind him, the crowd began to chant. A low, rumbling sound grew louder, echoing through the field. Some started pounding on the sides of the shuttle with rocks and sticks. Ral closed his eyes. "They're going to tear us apart." Lero set his hand on Ral's shoulder. "No. We hold them back as long as we can. The mothership got our signal. They'll come. We only have to survive a little longer." But deep inside, he feared it was already too late. The first humans climbed onto the shuttle, smashing at the hatch with hammers. Metal bent. The door started to crack. Ral aimed his rifle, tears in his eyes. "For Wormus," he whispered. "For Wormus," Lero echoed. The hatch split open. Human faces peered in, smiling wide. Then they charged. Bright blasts filled the cabin. Screams and roars mixed together. Lero fought with everything he had, knowing this was not just a battle for their lives, but a final stand against Earth's darkest truth. Captain Lero staggered out of the ruined shuttle. Smoke rose behind him, glowing red under the night sky. Ral limped at his side, half-dragging Jarek, who was barely conscious. The humans surrounded them in a wide circle. Torches lit up cruel, smiling faces. Many held sharp blades, rusty axes, and long wooden spears. They beat them on the ground in rhythm, chanting low words that made Lero's skin crawl. Then the crowd parted. The tall human leader stepped forward again. His long coat of stitched skins flapped in the wind. Around his neck, the little skulls rattled. He smiled warmly, too warmly. "Look at you," the man said in a calm voice. "Bleeding, broken. Your bright ship fallen, your weapons nearly empty. Tell me, alien, was it worth it? Was your little adventure to Earth everything you hoped for?" Lero held up his rifle, though his hands trembled. "Stay back," The human leader chuckled. Oh, but we want you to see, truly see. You came for Earth's dark side. Now you understand. It's not just war or hate. It's deeper. It's joy. It's the joy of the hunt. It's the thrill of the kill. This is our true heart. Ral raised his own gun. We won't die easy. Of course not. That's why it's fun, the leader whispered. Hey. Then he raised his hand. The crowd screamed as they charged. Lero fired. Blue bolts cut down to humans. Ral shot another, the man dropping with a burning hole in his chest. But more came, leaping over the bodies. Jurek, somehow awake, lifted his sidearm with a shaking hand. He shot a woman rushing him, then fell back, coughing up blood. A heavy man with a hammer swung at Lero. Lero ducked, then fired point blank. The man fell, torch rolling from his hand. Ral cried out as a blade sliced across his arm. He kicked the attacker away and fired again. The human fell, laughing even as he died. But it was too many. The aliens backed up the small hill, surrounded on all sides. Blood stained the grass. The humans came slower now, savoring the terror. On their faces, the leader walked up calmly, blade in hand. It's beautiful, isn't it? The moment between life and death, where fear tastes the sweetest. Suddenly, a loud hum filled the sky. Everyone froze. Lero looked up. Bright lights broke through the clouds. Massive Wormian dropships roared down, engines shaking the ground. Reinforcements, Ral whispered. Tears running down his face. The leader snarled. You're ours. He charged forward. Lero pulled the trigger, but his rifle clicked empty. The human leader raised his blade high. A bright beam shot down from above. It struck the leader, burning him away in a flash of white fire. The light faded. Only a pile of smoking ash remained. Around them, humans screamed and scattered. Dropships landed with heavy thuds. Wormian soldiers in shining armor poured out, their heavy guns blasting. Humans dropped by the dozens. The survivors ran into the dark trees, vanishing with angry cries. A medic ran up to Lero. Captain, we received your signal. We're getting you out. Ral fell to his knees, sobbing with relief, eyes fluttering. Medics lifted him onto a stretcher. Lero stood unsteadily, looking around at the bloody hill. So many human bodies lay there, still smiling in death. Beyond, the forests were dark, filled with the promise of more waiting horrors. A young soldier helped Lero toward the dropship. You're safe now, sir. I'll take you back to the mothership. Safe, Lero whispered. He looked back one last time. No one is ever truly safe on this planet. The soldier frowned. Sir? Lero? Shook his head, nothing. Let's go. They lifted off, dropships rising into the starry sky. Down below, Earth seemed quiet again, like it was hiding its true face under a peaceful mask. Inside the ship, Ral sat beside Jarek, who was hooked to medical tubes. They were alive, but forever changed. Ral looked at his captain. What do we tell home? Lero stared out the window at Earth. We tell them to never come here again. This is a planet ruled by the dark side of the heart. Humans don't just carry darkness, they celebrate it. Ral closed his eyes. And we thought they were just stories. Yes, Lero said. But the stories were too kind. Outside, Earth spun slowly, blue and green, beautiful from afar, so peaceful it could fool anyone. But Lero knew the truth now. Up close, it was a nightmare. High above Earth, the mighty Wormian mothership hung silent in orbit. Its long silver body bristled. With antennas and heavy defense cannons, inside, bright control rooms buzzed with activity. Captain Lero stood by the wide observation window. His uniform was torn, his skin bruised and burned. Next to him, Ral watched the planet spin below a ball of blue and green clouds that looked so calm, almost innocent. Behind them, Jarek lay on a med bed. Tubes pumped medicine into his veins. He was alive, but barely. A high-ranking commander entered the room. His long cape flowed behind him, looked at Lero with narrow yellow eyes. Captain, we received your full report. Is it true? Are humans really that dangerous? Lero didn't turn from the window. They are worse. They hide their darkness. Behind laughter and smiles, They dance on blood, they create monsters, and then worship them. Even their children take joy in cruelty. The commander frowned. You think they would try to reach the stars? Spread this darkness to other worlds? Ral stepped forward, voice shaking. Commander, we saw enough. If humans ever build ships like ours, they will bring horror across the galaxy. We can't risk that. The commander nodded slowly. He looked out at Earth, thoughtful. Then we have only one choice. He pressed a button on his wrist. A small drone flew in, projecting a large holographic symbol in the air, a bright red Warmian quarantine mark. All Warmian ships will see this sign, the commander said. Earth is now a forbidden world. No landings, no contact. Anyone who comes here will face the full force of our navy. Ral let out a long breath. Good, no one else will walk into their nightmare. Lero finally turned. His face was grim. Send warnings to our colonies. Tell them Earth is off limits forever. The commander placed a hand on Lero's shoulder. You did well, Captain. You and your team uncovered the truth before it spread. But Lero didn't feel like a hero. He looked once more at the planet below. From this height, it looked harmless, a shining jewel in the black of space. Hours later, Lero stood alone in the quiet observation deck. Ral was in the medbay helping Jarek. The ship had begun to move. Turning away from Earth, Lero stared down at the blue world. He almost wished he could forget everything. The peaceful view tried to trick his mind. It was hard to believe that. Down there, humans were still smiling with bloody hands, still hunting in dark streets, still feeding their monsters. Then something moved. He squinted. Near a bright coast, he saw thousands of tiny lights, cities, but some of those lights were not steady. They moved in long lines across the land. Like great rivers of fire, he asked the ship's AI zoom in. The view changed, pulling closer. Lero saw crowds of humans marching along roads, carrying torches and banners marked with strange symbols. In the night sky, they lit huge fires in patterns that formed terrifying shapes, faces with sharp teeth, wide grins and staring eyes. They were celebrating, singing, maybe waiting for more creatures to rise from hidden labs, or simply enjoying their dark games. Lero felt his heart sink. Even knowing the truth, he had hoped there might be something good left on Earth. But the humans only proved him wrong again. The ship's engines roared louder. The planet began to shrink as they pulled away. Ral stepped in quietly, bandages. On his arm, he joined Lero at the window. We'll never come back here, will we? Never, Lero said. If we're wise, Ral gave a small, sad nod. I almost pitied them. They could have built wonders. Instead, they built nightmares. Maybe, Lero whispered, the nightmares were always inside them. They only needed a reason to show their true face. They stood in silence together, watching Earth fade into the darkness of space. Far below, on the ground, the humans looked up at the night sky. Many smiled wide, teeth glinting in the torchlight. Some even raised hands in greeting as if they somehow knew they were being watched from above. They did not fear the stars. They welcomed them. Back on the Warmian mothership, warning signals spread across the galaxy. Every star map now showed Earth marked in bright red. Danger, do not approach. Earth-quarantined. Leia turned away from the window at last. His heart was heavy, but his duty was clear. Let's go home, he said, and the ship sped away. Into the endless dark, leaving Earth alone with its own hungry shadows forever.